Evening all, you're watching the Cheese Room podcast, the only place to be on a Friday night. I mean, there are other places available, but nowhere as fun or insightful as this as we approach the North London Derby weekend. I'm very excited about this, and I'm excited to be joined by some fantastic guests on the panel tonight. So let's go one by one. Jack, how is the US of A today?
US of A is just fine. I am in North Carolina as usual. I'm at my office waiting for the next tropical storm to dump a few inches of rain on top of us. So that's what we're doing tonight.
Oh, well, there you go. And there was I thinking it was all, sunshine and roses over there.
It was yesterday, not today.
There we go. Our very reasonable Gooner, if there is such a thing, is back. He looks a bit like HG, but HG is not on the show, so no doppelganger comments tonight. But how are you, Stephen? You okay?
Not too bad, sir. Not too bad. No, we've never been seen in the same room at the same time, so I'm not confirming or denying that HG is on the show tonight. No, we're not so bad. Weather here is abysmal because it's Ireland in September. We just had a ploughing championships about 5 miles up the road. Which, if you want to hear of anything more Irish than a ploughing championships, and there it is. And no one could get in or out of the site because the site got turned into a mud. And there was one tow truck, and he wouldn't tow anyone out unless he was given €70 up front to tow you out of the mud.
Oh, nice.
The biggest community event of the summer / autumn in Ireland, and all the news is talking about is just one lad sitting on his tow truck going, I'm not moving. I haven't been paid. It's fantastic. And literally hundreds of cars like this deep in mud. Couldn't get in, couldn't get out of the field.
Yeah.
And our lad going, nope, wasn't paid.
I'm sure there's a joke about the Emirates in this somewhere, but I'm going to move on.
There's no parking in the Emirates at all. As he couldn't even...
No, not at all. Harry, welcome to the show. First time on with you. A warm welcome from the Cheese Room. How are you this evening? You're on mute, but that's the first tip. Take yourself off mute.
I should know by now. Amount of podcasts I've hosted. I still make that common mistake. But thank you very much for having me on. Looking forward to getting into the big North London Derby this weekend. So it's great to be on with some fabulous guests. So can't wait.
Welcome. And Stuart, allegedly my doppelganger, but I deny this. Which is no offence to you, obviously. Just in denial. How are you?
I'm in a lot of pain, caller.
Why?
I've made the mistake of going to the gym.
Played yet? You went to the gym?
Yeah.
Oh, what did you do?
All sorts. Too much. So at the moment, I'm in a lot of pain. I can hardly move.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can recover before I've got my next session booked. So,
I bet good at the time. That's the thing. Like, you get to the gym and you're halfway through and you're like, I don't feel too bad. I'll give it an extra set. I'll give it an extra routine. And then you get home and you're like,
that's where I'm at.
Was I thinking?
Where I'm at.
I mean, I like that pain. I've been going to the gym for about a month. I'm in the best shape in ages, and i.e. not quite so round. I love that pain. So it's good pain. Just embrace the pain and you'll be fine. Okay. Have you got a PT or anything?
I do. And I'm going to sort of just take it easy next time.
Yeah.
A little bit better. Hopefully I've recovered. So it's all right. It'll be worth it in the long run, hopefully.
Well, I think once you get through a couple of bouts of pain, it becomes normal, and but you got to watch it. You got to watch it. Your age
is all I'm enduring this weekend, not emotional pain.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, tell me what was the first thing you said to me about you didn't want to come on tonight because
no, it's not that I didn't want to come on. I always look forward to coming on here. It's a great show to come on because we actually talk football and talk a bit of sense. We don't go into quote unquote banter and all that nonsense. But I turned on the camera, came into the room, and you were smiling, and Jack was smiling, and Harry comes on, and he's happy, and I'm like, this isn't the cheese room I know. Where's all this optimism come from? What's all this enthusiasm and looking forward to watching us play? Like, what is this? I always thought John had given me the wrong link. I'd gone into the wrong room or something. But it's bad how just like I said, just the psyche of maybe the average Tottenham fan has changed over the last maybe 3 months, 4 months from one of, oh God, we have to watch that drivel again. Oh God, we got to go through another season of Jose ball, Santo ball, Conte ball, whatever you want to call it, to now where it's like people actually want to watch Tottenham play. When was the last time we said that?
Pochettino.
Even non-Spurs fans want to watch Tottenham.
Yeah, like it's that. It's I know maybe it's a banned name from here because I know there's several banned names I can't use, but Alan Davies, they look good. The lad of QI, he does an Arsenal podcast. Yeah, and he refers to something as the Mikel Silvestre tone of voice, where something isn't as awful as you thought it was going to be. When we bought Mikel Silvestre off United for like 750 grand of actual cash when he was awful at United, and we bought him thinking we needed his cover, and for 3 weeks he was all right, and it was like, yeah, Silvestre, yeah, he's not shit, yeah, he's not so bad, and it's that particular high tone pitch which you use when you're surprised, and it's the same now with Spurs. Everyone's looking at Spurs expecting chaos. They thought they were going to be useless, and here they are entertaining the league, and everyone's going, yeah, Spurs, they're not bad. This is actually all right. Everyone's quietly surprised and maybe pleasantly surprised that you're not bad, but B, you're actually now trying to win games. You're actually trying to entertain. You're actually trying to be on the attack. And it's like, yeah, I'd like to watch more of this, please.
You enjoying watching Spurs then, are you, this season still? Is that what you're basically saying? Yeah.
Hey, I've seen worse.
That's high praise.
Yeah, like it's one of those ones where it's like, yeah, I do like watching football, and it is my job, blah blah blah. But yeah, like Spurs are on, you don't immediately turn them off anymore. You actually will pay attention for 15 minutes because Postecoglou plays good football. Calder, maybe the lads here don't, but I'm not a Celtic fan, but I live in a town with an IRA prison in it. So it's almost local law where you have to be a Celtic enthusiast at least. So I've seen Ange ball before. I've seen the fact, I've seen him not lose a home game in Celtic for 3 years. I've seen him whip the Scottish League with a bang average side, and just lay rest to teams that couldn't press. So I'm not surprised by the way he's playing. I'm surprised by how effective it is. I'm surprised by how quickly a team that has been built to play 5-3-2 has taken to playing 2-3-5. It's ridiculous how quickly he's got this team almost not brainwashed, but he's got them. The last 4 years have been completely erased from this team's mind, and now they're like, oh yeah, we're actually going to try and win games. Whereas for 4 years, all he did was not to lose. It was negative. It was fear. It was cowardice. It was managers coming in and thinking they were bigger than you, better than you in the first place, that they were only going to stand here 2 or 3 years and then feck off with a trophy. This lad's come in and gone, no, this is a big club. I'm going to try and play the way I want to play. No one's going to tell me what to do. No one's going to tell us what to do. We're going to try and win every game and fuck you. And it's as simple as that. And it's working. And sometimes, you can complicate football very easily and complicate it with inverted fullbacks and false nines and all this jazz. But this lad's just turned up straight as an arrow and gone, we're going to try and entertain fans. We're going to be a big club. We're going to establish an identity. We're going to give them something to cheer for. We're going to give them something to want to watch at 3 p.m. on the Saturday. And we're going to give this club an identity again. And so far, it's working.
But I mean, we haven't played anyone good yet. I think that only Man United,
and this is where test A will come. This is where what's he going to do on Sunday? Is he going to walk into one that look? I said for the first time I was on, we laughed about the fact that when I said it, we're not very good, you're not very good. Let's see who's the least bad.
Yeah.
We're now one of the best sides in Europe, and we're maybe the best pressing side in Europe. And you're about to walk into our place and play attacking football.
Let's be real. You've only just got back in Europe, so let's.
True.
The season before we put you to that one, didn't we? I mean, let's be honest, Stephen. We've finished above you 6 out of the last seven seasons.
Yeah.
So
7 years.
I think it's a little bit early for Gooner.
Look, the Champions League.
Wait,
theme,
we got 15 minutes into this before that, so that's all right.
the opening bars of the Champions League theme got a cheer on Wednesday night. Because everyone was like, "Yay! Thank God it's not that fucking Europa League shite anymore." But it is a bit of a mind trick that blue plays on you. Well, the theme music kicks in. You see you're like, "Oh yeah, we weren't this for a while. Now we're kind of back. We still have, we're still miles behind City, but so is everyone else. But in terms of everyone else, we're really good." And we play good football. We play attacking football. We play pressing football. And PSV came to us Wednesday evening, top of the Dutch league, 4 wins out of 4, decided to play football and got whipped. So, if you try to do the same thing.
Well, we'll get into that. Don't you worry. We'll get into that. But first, I want to touch on a major Tottenham event this week, the Fans Forum, of course, hosted by Daniel Levy, with various people in attendance, women's manager, men's manager, and the respective captains. A really good event, which one of the cheese room was at. Mr. Diver, who I see is in the chat, weirdly enough, got a lucky ticket, which really surprised me. My question, Harry, you can tell us. Well, what did you think of the event, first of all?
Yeah, I thought it went really, really well. Obviously, you're going to get, I think, those negative comments regardless, because sadly, some people, I think, will find something to moan about. But generally, I think it's a really positive event. I think some good questions were put forward. I think there were some good answers, from everyone, but in particular, Postecoglou. I think it's just the way he comes across, the way he answers everything. It's just different, isn't it, to everyone else? So, yeah, really successful evening. I think it more than needed. The only bit of frustration from some part of the fan base I do understand is we also should be doing this thing when we're not in a good place. For example, when we get thumped against Newcastle, to answer the more difficult questions that also need answering at a time of reassurance. So, yeah, it's all good doing it now when we're playing some pretty stuff and win a few games. But no, it was a really successful evening. Really good to see. And some of the questions raised, I thought, were really good. Some of the answers were really good. I think we found out, not loads, but we found out quite a bit of information. So I think it was a successful trial, if you like. Something I think will be done again. Yeah, really good evening. Wish I could be there myself, to be fair, in attendance. So it really looked like a good one.
Opportune timing, Stuart. Were you surprised? I mean, this sort of came from nowhere, didn't it? It was like, you got an email invitation. Do you want a ticket to this thing? I think only 250 people out of 7,000 got tickets. But it was a bit. Brendan, bless him, in Brazil, thought that he won the lottery for having an invite, which was brilliant on the podcast the other night. I was like, no, Brent, everyone got that email, mate. He was like, really? I was like, yeah. I mean, opportunistic timing from the ownership, or just coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a bit of both. It makes sense for the club to take advantage of the sort of positivity in the air at the moment and sort of build on that momentum. If you're gonna put Levy in a room with a bunch of fans, this was definitely the better time to do it than if he tried to do that last season. He would have got pelted with tomatoes or something like that, like medieval times.
You would have been lucky with tomatoes.
Yeah. But yeah, like I echo what Harry said. I thought it was a pretty positive and good event. It was good and I think he sort of doubled down on it in the Bloomberg interview that he did the next morning, where he sort of did admit that the Mourinho and Conte sort of management signings, Nuno's just been wiped from the record altogether, the poor guy.
He never existed. No, we don't talk about Nuno. No.
I don't think he cares now. He's waiting for Nuno. that they were mistakes, and I'm glad he's held his hand up and
well, hang on, I'm going to stop you just there. Because, I mean, I had some things to say on the pod this week about that. Because, firstly, let me say I think the fans forum was a great idea. I thought it was a positive event. I think Ange came across brilliantly. Yeah. I do have issue with Mr. Levy on a few matters, which I want to call out, and then I invite Jack's comment because he's not said anything yet onto this, and then I'll come back to you, Harry and Stuart, and Stephen, if you wish to comment as well. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the content, but by all means, chip in on this conversation. But Mr. Levy basically held his hands up and said, "Yes, I got two managers wrong." But then he turned around and blamed the fans and the players, saying he was pressured. He felt the pressure, and he felt it, poor Daniel. He felt pressured into hiring win-now managers by the fans and the players, which kind of like is going, yeah, it's my fault. But unfortunately, it's not really all my fault, is it? Because you egged me on. So there was that. Then the ticket pricing, he completely dodged around and basically said, yeah, well, it is the company, i.e. Spurs, has to produce, revenue, and it all gets ploughed back into the team, which is lovely. So when he was taken to the task on the fact there's been no stadium naming rights in the last 4 years and potentially missed out on, £20 million or £10 million a season, and that could have maybe protected the fans from paying increased prices, he sort of went, well, yeah, maybe. So that I thought that was pretty poor. In fact, he basically didn't, admit culpability for pretty much anything, and I've got to be honest. I mean, that does stick in the mouth a little bit for me when the absolute peak Levy bit was, we've got our Tottenham back. Absolute quote. Well, you're the one who took our Tottenham away by appointing two dinosaur managers who play five at the back and want to hit teams on the counter and absorb pressure for 90 minutes. And then you didn't particularly back them in the transfer market, or to a degree you did, but not fully. So to me, it's. I mean, it came across very well for Daniel Levy and Spurs, and I understand it was a good event, and I understand everyone's riding the Ange Postecoglou wave right now, but I see you, Dave. But it does stick in the throat a little bit that he's sort of batting it back to, oh yeah, I hired the wrong managers, but it was the fans' fault. What? I'm sorry.
I don't think I get it from you could construe it as that, but I sort of get what he meant in terms of the pressure at the time, in terms of I remember when we lost 3-0 at home to Man United, it was toxic, extremely toxic. So if you're talking about pressure from fans, I 100% agree, because that place was.
Dave agrees enough to put his hand in his pocket, which is surely a first. So there you go. Thanks for your super chat, Dave.
He's only done it in Australian dollars, though, the cheapskate.
I mean, to be fair, that is the currency he operates in, Stuart. He's legally an Australian.
He's Levy this on the super chat.
I mean, well, Levy pays for this channel according to some, so he won't be happy with what I've got to say.
For me,
about it,
before Jack has a say, because I think he hasn't said a word yet, unfortunately. For me, I agree that there's going to be people that are going to take, especially the Levy side of things, are going to trying to jump on stuff.
Well, Stuart, hang on. Let me give you another example. As you're framing it that way. Here's another load of bullshit for you. Bloomberg interview, or was it in the fans forum? I think it was the Bloomberg interview. But he basically said that we can't compete with these clubs spending lots of money, and we have to live within our means. We're ninth richest club in the world.
Yeah, your wage bill is higher than ours.
The wage bill is sixth.
He specifically said we can't buy trophies. He didn't say we couldn't compete. Yeah. He said we can't buy trophies.
Can't buy trophies. All right. Okay. I mean, go figure.
I'm not saying he's right.
There's a massive difference between sovereign wealth and.
Yeah, but he should be defining that. He should be defining that in that statement, because for me, yes, I expect. I know the investment model isn't that they're going to pile a load of money, and I'm not. I'm not stupid enough to think that, but I do think we don't pay enough wages, and to attract the top players, you've got to pay the wages. And I do think we could do a bit more in the transfer window. We're the 9th richest club in the world. You've got Chelsea outspending us. You've got Arsenal outspending us. Arsenal have got less revenue than us over recent years.
Yep.
So, it's all right pleading poverty, but when the numbers don't back that up, 2 + 2 doesn't compute.
Yeah. What's your view, Jack?
Well, you would say, I want the club, I want the chairman to communicate more. And then he comes out and communicates, and I go, oh, because he doesn't do it well. He's not engaging. He doesn't have personality, and he said some odd things, I will admit. Taking responsibility for the manager and then blaming the fans and the players a little bit, I think is just
cowardice.
It's foolish. If it's just because you're not polished and you're nervous and you just don't have I'm not trying to make excuses for him, because I'm not necessarily some supporter of his, but it just doesn't make sense that you would not just, when you've got such good things going on and everyone's so happy with the current appointment and all that sort of stuff, just stop with, we made a mistake. We got away from who we are as a club. Those were appointments I shouldn't have made, but I thought we had the greatest player that the club has ever had, or certainly its greatest, obviously, attacking, scoring player. And I wanted to try and win something as quickly as possible. And I thought they were the managers who could get us there. And that wasn't a terrible assumption. I was devastated when Mourinho was appointed, not because I was sad that Pochettino was fired. I understood that, but the appointment of Mourinho, I was like, we all know how this ends. There's no question about where this goes, and maybe we'll get a trophy along the line, but I don't know that anyone's going to enjoy it, along the way. So I was appalled, and it ended exactly as we thought it would. Well, we can debate why he was fired when he was fired. I don't want to go into that. And then the appointment with Conte, I will admit that I was actually pretty excited about it, but it might have been just because I didn't follow Italian football. And I didn't have a huge memory. I didn't watch press conferences when he was at Chelsea, and I didn't really follow how it blew up there because I didn't really care. And, that whole situation turned into such a miserable experience, and we can all debate the reasons why, but I don't know why he feels the need to say, hey, it wasn't all my fault, because even if, what's so stupid about that statement is you're the frickin' chairman. You're the one who makes decisions. You're the one who's supposed to be setting the culture. You're the one who's supposed to be in charge. You can't say, well, I was pressured into the decision. You're the person in charge. I wasn't a big fan of that secondary statement. I was a fan of him saying, we made a mistake. We tried to rectify it with Ange. That's all that needed to be said. And everyone would have been like, wonderful. That would have been perfect.
Yeah. And look, I am not generally a Levy basher. I am not a board basher. And this is not a board bashing channel. But it did stick in my throat, because I just thought to myself, well, you're just being really childish, petulant, just take accountability. Admit you've made mistakes and move on. Harry, tell me I'm wrong.
Listen, it's interesting. I'm kind of in between, if you like. One thing is, obviously, you've got to remember you're going to get people who, Daniel Levy could promise the earth or deliver the earth, and there would still be people who would go out there and criticise him. And I think you see that, people who, personally for me anyway, have nothing better to do. But at the same time, in that fan form, Levy took no accountability. And I completely agree with what you say. I think he was very, very childish. There was no responsibility taken. His opportunity to say, hold his hands up, especially with the increase in matchday ticket price, and go, do you know what, I've got it wrong. We're currently considering reversing that. But it was kind of, in the nicest way, saying, I don't care. It's going to be like this. It's done every year. Crack on. And that just isn't right, because of his failure to get the sponsorship deal, the naming rights to the stadium. That is the result, one of the reasons resulting in fans paying more. And that just isn't right. That's his failure. That's not the fans' fault. Just a couple of things. I found him really cheesy. He tried to make a joke about Maddison with his red car in training. That looked like it'd been practiced for several weeks.
Oh, it had.
He's so awkward. I looked at it. It didn't look good. It really did not look good. He done that, and he tried with the thing, we've got our Tottenham back, and he just looks so happy with himself. So I'm completely with you, Jack. I'm someone who's absolutely crying out for Levy to communicate with fans. I don't think he does that enough, but when he does do it, for me, he's absolutely shocking at it. He comes across as someone who takes no accountability and quite childish, someone who can't take any responsibility because, like you all say, he took our Tottenham away. He appointed these managers. He then sacked them, realised it was wrong, and he didn't accept that on the night as well. So, yeah, more responsibility needed to be taken. But it was, for me, a successful evening. And I think he answered some questions well, but he needed to take accountability for some important topics that he didn't. But, however, I thought Ange came across really, really well.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that I don't think we'll see Levy at those events again anyway, because I think whenever the next one is, it'll be Scott Mann and the director of football. That'll be it.
I mean, if you're naive enough to think that, good luck to you. He loves it.
He's another fan forum, mate. He doesn't need to be. He doesn't run the football part of the business anymore. Scott Mann does.
He will be.
All right.
I'll have a wager with you. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If there's a trophy in front of that fan forum, he will be there. Yeah. I guarantee. If there isn't, Scott Munn will be there.
A long way away then.
100%.
Well said. Well said.
But I see you, King Hoddle. Never mind football politics. Let's talk football. We absolutely will get to the North London derby. But my final, Stuart, did you see any of the event? And was there anything in there that took your eye?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
Sorry, Stephen. The question was for Stephen.
No. Go on, Stuart. Go on.
I've talked about it enough.
Yeah.
No, just like.
Well, that's what I figured.
We've gone through this we had shareholder meetings every year when Wenger was there. And there's the famous Peter Hill Wood quote when he was chairman, where there had been a really, really bad meeting of like hundreds of fans that turned up and gone, look, spend some fucking money, etc., etc. And at the end of it, Peter Hill Wood sums it all up by saying, and I quote, "Thank you for your interest in our affairs," and left. And we were like, hold on. What? Excuse me? What do you mean your affairs? It's our fucking club, mate. And 6 months later, he retired. It was very clear that he was not suitable for public speaking. And it's very clear the same with Daniel Levy. And the same with Stan Kroenke. Silent Stan, Jack in America will know all about him. And it's not Stan that has revolutionized Arsenal or Denver or Colorado or the LA Rams. It's his son, Josh, who's brilliant in front of a camera, who's a natural and can charm the pants off anyone and just walks in. And when we sacked at Emery, it was him who comes out and said, yeah, we screwed up on that one. We rushed it. We had the wrong director in. We rushed that too. We're getting rid of them all. We're starting from scratch. We're bringing in Arsenal men. We're bringing in Edu. We're bringing in Arteta. We're bringing in a proper businessman to run the other side of it. And we're actually going to spend some money. Watch us. Trust us. In 3 years, we're going to have a decent team. And his track record is, like I said, with the Denver Nuggets, who won the NBA last year, LA Rams, who won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, the Colorado Avalanche, who were the best team in the hockey, etc., etc., etc. When you've got a good front man, use him. I think he better hope Scott Munn's a good front man.
Well,
because
I'm still waiting. When are you going to have a decent team that can challenge for stuff?
Well, I'll answer that question as soon as it brought up that we bottled winning the league last year.
I was waiting. Well, that's exactly what I was about to say.
Either we're good enough to win the league and then threw it away, or we're not good enough to win the league and we shouldn't have bottled it. You can't have either or.
Oh, you absolutely bottled it. But, it shouldn't be a surprise. You had form for bottling. You bottled fourth at our place, the year before. So
there's been 2 trebles in the history of English football, and we bottled the league in both.
Yeah.
1999, we bottled the league. And we bottled the semi-final the FA Cup as well.
Well, you get assists for that, I think, in the stats.
Yeah. Hockey assists even. Like it's just the pass that led to the pass. But yeah, like I said, the one thing I took from Levy when he came out is like when he was insistent, like when it was brought up that they sold Harry Kane, and he's like, "Oh no, don't worry, we got a buyback."
Yeah, I love that.
It's like that's like. It's like saying to your kids that my missus has left me, but don't worry, I'm keeping her number on my phone just in case she takes me back. Like, you desperate bastard. Let her go. He's gone. Like your position with Kane should be: you wanted to go, he fucked off. We're better. End of story. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck to him. Good luck to us. And that's end of it. But him saying, well, maybe he'll come back and it'll be my responsibility for him to come. Shut up.
Well, he did the same with Bale. He did the same with Bale, basically.
Yeah,
didn't he?
and
He
it's
brought
just
Bale back in the flop.
trying to sell fans hope of something that they don't need hope for.
Yeah.
They have hope now. It's what's in front of them. They're trying to move on emotionally. Let them.
Okay. Final one on the fan forum. The other, apart from the Kane buyback, which we're not really going to explore in depth, but he did sort of suggest that he was open to selling Spurs. Harry excited about that prospect because he repeated it after the fan forum. There's the quote. If anyone wants to make serious propositions to the board of Tottenham, we will consider it along with our advisors. And if we felt it was in the interest of the club, we would be open to anything. Now, that is probably as open as I've seen Daniel Levy be. He then went on to say, I've got no real interest to lead Tottenham, but I do have a duty to propose to the shareholders to consider anything that that anyone may want to propose. It's not about me. It's about what's right for the club. We have 30,000 shareholders who own approximately 13%. We run this club as if it's a public company. So Harry, how do you feel about that prospect? Were you sort of? I mean, I don't know what your sort of your Levy in, out, shake it all about stance is, but that's probably the closest he's been to sort of saying, yeah, we'd take an offer right now. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, really. I didn't see it coming after the fan forum. I just didn't see it happening. It's the most honest, he's kind of, for me anyway, run away from the issue before. So to speak about it personally, I can't see it happening. I can't see him stepping away, giving that little bit of percentage away. I can't see it happening at all. Maybe from his perspective, it kind of gets some fans off his back if he's kind of taken that responsibility, and maybe it suggests that he's thinking about not just himself but the fans and the club as a wider picture. But I think you get majority of people in and out of football will take one look at Daniel Levy and go, yeah, I don't want to do business with you. You're going to want 4 billion. You're going to want all these tricky things. So yeah, I can't see it happening. To be honest with you, it's hard to comment right now because we're doing really well under Ange. If you asked me last season, it would be, get out. We're doing awful. Something needs to change, but it's difficult to kind of sit here and absolutely slate him because he's appointed the right manager in Postecoglou. We had a better transfer window. We got Scott Munn through the door and apparently finally started. And there's just a feel-good factor around the club right now. So for me, there's nothing needing to change right now. But it's difficult because, it's the same with lots of fans when you're winning. That's the bit I do kind of agree with Levy on, but he does forget that when you're losing, it's not just the pressure on the chairman. You should see, for example, Ten Hag with Man United, that they've had not a fantastic start to the season. Ten Hag's already under that little bit of pressure, as well as the Glazers. So, otherwise, Levy, the way he came across in that fan form seemed to suggest that the pressure was just on him after we were losing. It wasn't. It was also, for me anyway, on Conte and then Stellini. So it's an interesting one, to be honest with you. So yeah, a bit in between, but I can't see it happening. I've been very surprised. I think it'll take something special. We all know we spoke against the Saudi ownership of Newcastle, the new takeover. That's the reason I looked at our squad. I remember sitting on the show going, why haven't we done business in Saudi Arabia? Why haven't we got players at the door? And I was reminded that Levy spoke out against this. So, they're not going to be willing to do any business with them, or he's not willing to do any business with them. So I can't see anyone who's going to come in and pay what Levy wants. So yeah, I can't see it happening. But right now, I'm happy. But ask me at the end of the season.
I think a lot depends on what happens with Man United and the Qataris, to be honest, because they have got the cash and they, I'm sure they'd like a London club with the stadium built for them.
I think we're more of a sensible investment because we've got the facilities, we've got the stadium, we've got the infrastructure, if you like. So it would be, in terms of, it may not matter to them obviously with the money they've got, but you would save money in the end at Spurs, because Man United, a lot needs to be done, a lot of work on Old Trafford, if not potentially a new stadium, new training ground. There's a lot more that needs to be done. It's more of a longer project, whereas Tottenham, the stadium's there, the training ground's there. It's just investing in the first team and delivering success. That can be, for me, it's a short-term plan. But I suppose, with Man United, that there's more to it. Like when they take over Newcastle, I suppose it's quite exciting in a way, or with Wrexham. Completely different. It's exciting because it's a real challenge. I suppose it's the only way I can look at it. But yeah, for me, if you're a Qatari sports investment, I invest in Spurs because you save money and it just makes sense. London club as well. And you're going to generate so much money, NFL and loads of other events.
You're not going to go on. You don't set up an interview
with Bloomberg for no reason.
For no reason.
No, that's very true.
That was very purposeful. It was very timely, as Owen said, about the fact that the Man United sale is still very much up in the air. There's lots of investment going on at the moment. Everton have just had a round of US investment, so that was a very planned call.
It was like a come and get me plea from a player.
It was, and I can absolutely see a stake being sold before the end of the season. That's another one I'm going to go with.
Oh, are you? Do you want to have a bet on that as well? You're feeling very creamy tonight.
I'm not saying full buyout. I'm saying that will be a significant stake sold before the end of the season.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think if anyone wants a stake, the problem is, I think in the instance of Qatar, the Qataris, I think they would want to buy the club. And I think if the price is right, ENIC go. Because they are an investment company and they take their money and they take their profit and off they pop. But I think, that minority stake that you speak of then leads to a bigger stake and eventually a takeover potentially if it's from a sovereign wealth fund. But, it's interesting. We will see what happens with it. Watch this space. I think Spurs are more saleable now than they have been at any point, in the last 10 years, 20 years, certainly. So it's one to watch. But let's talk North London derby. I know 116 of you have stayed for 37 minutes already and entertained that fan forum stuff. So we appreciate you watching, but only if you hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you very much. Please all do that. Rumour has it that Stuart will buy you all a pint at the ground if you hit the like button. So,
I'll maybe not do that, but I will be giving away a Chelsea ticket for
How are you? There we go.
So there you go. That's another reason to like and subscribe.
Yes, absolutely. If you like and subscribe, you could win a Chelsea ticket at Spurs, which is very generous. Thank you very much, Stuart. Are you away for the game or are you in hospitality for that?
Away.
There you go. Good. Right, North London derby then. I need to go and refuel on Estrella, so I'm going to pass this baton round, and I want you to all come up with your favourite North London derby memory. I will go first. You can't repeat. Obviously, I'm going first. I'm giving myself the advantage of all of history because I don't want any repetition through the show.
Or can it be either home or away?
Home or away.
Okay, that's fine. That opens up options.
Yeah, there's been so many iconic moments in the North London derby, but I think my favourite, just for the sheer passion of it, was Harold Kane dressed as Zorro, smashing the ball in the back. I mean, that was him arriving on the scene back in the early days.
Yeah,
I mean,
a goal as well.
But what a goal! He takes it a long way from the sort of corner flag and bends it past the despairing keeper. Now, the irony, everyone will tell me, is we only drew that game.
Yeah. I was going to say you won that one.
but that was about a transition of power in North London because we'd have lost that in previous years. Yeah. And I think Kane on the scene, it really sowed the seeds of the dominance that Tottenham have enjoyed over Arsenal. It's fair to say, out of the last 7 seasons, finished in 6 of them.
Yeah.
That was almost, I think, the tipping point in that. And I think that the goal itself was just an absolute worldie. So really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the celebration. Really enjoyed the crowd at the Old Lane where we loved it.
Yeah.
So over to you guys. There's some great suggestions in the chat. Gaza Gold. Hi, Gav. How you doing this evening? I see the bourbons flowing. It's great to have you along. Gaza Gold in the FA Cup so far on Northland Doris with it. Yes, one of my first footballing memories and one of the reasons I supported Spurs was Gaza and Lineker. Lineker's turned out to be a bit of a shit, and Gaza has also turned out to be a bit of a shit. So a disappointment, but there you go. Led me to that place. So let us know yours in the chat. I'm going to pass it to Jack, who's going to pass it to Stephen, who's going to pass it to Harry, who's going to pass it to Stuart. And by that point, I will have another Estrella in my hand.
Yeah, I'd say actually, caller had one I was probably most favored was just because of where I was in a pub with the North Carolina Spurs. We gathered an Irish pub in town, and that was one of the first times I actually gone to that pub and with around that many Spurs fans because I had not traveled to see the team play yet. But I think from the only other one that I have that stands out in my mind is just as I'm just becoming a fan is I think is Danny Rose's debut, and a goal of for the ages. So I think that's probably one of the things that kind of was a catalyst to my becoming a fan, because obviously in America here I did not grow up as a Spurs fan. That should be obvious. So I think those are the two memories I have most. Because I've not been to a North London derby, so I don't have the pleasure of talking about that. I've been close. I was outside Wembley and was watching at a pub around the corner from Wembley when Hugo saved Aubameyang's penalty kick to preserve the 1-1 that probably got us into the Champions League that year, that point. Yeah. But that's all I can offer as a relatively newer fan, I'd say.
It's one of those ones, like, not to ruin your mind's eye, but Go watch Danny Rose's goal again and watch how Amunia basically embraces the laws of gravity and just falls. Like, he doesn't even dive to save the ball. He just falls down and the ball screams into not that if he'd tried, he would have got there anyway. But just you just watch it again and go, oh god, he's got to buy a new goalkeeper after that. And he didn't for 3 more years. But it was one of those ones. I mean, but the personal one, like, I have to. It's funny and it's not. It's probably not funny here, but it is 2004. But I was in, like Jack, I was in the local pub, and it was full of lads hoping Arsenal didn't win it because it was banter. You know what I mean? It's the main soccer pub of the town. And what had happened was the Arsenal Tottenham game was the 4:00 game. Newcastle were playing Chelsea at 2, and Chelsea had to win that so that Arsenal had to win at White Hart Lane. But Newcastle bet them, and that way we only needed the draw. We knew that. It looked like nobody else did. Tottenham fans, anyone, any neutrals, or whatever. So when the penalty for 2-2 goes in, pub erupts. You're all raging, you're all raging, you're all raging. And we all looked at each other and said nothing. And we were like, we're going to live in a minute. We're going to sicken the bastards. And then got out 2-2. They all started cheering, and then so did we. And they all looked at us in disgust. They go, why are you cheering? We won the league. Do math. Chelsea lost. And doors just opened. I mean, like, dozens of people just fucked off as if, oh no, we're not here for this. As 9 Arsenal fans proceeded to get absolutely slaughtered in the middle of a pub at 5:30 on a Sunday evening. But it turned out the same happened everywhere, even in the ground. Like Thierry Henry's going around to, the lads going around and saying, why are you celebrating a draw? We only needed the draw to win. And then it dawned on everyone. It's like, oh fuck. But it's just that moment. Yeah. It's like, and then, the same nearly happened at Man City, where it's like 3-2, and they're just realizing, oh shit. And then it realizes they only need the 1 goal, and then it goes in. But like, it's just one of those things that you can't replicate that. Like, you can't replicate the specifics. You can't go into. There needs to be that level of detail to make it special. And it's just the fact that so many people didn't, even though it was on TV, somebody who didn't know that Arsenal only needed a draw at 4 p.m. just made it a little bit more special when everyone celebrated that Arsenal only got a draw at 5:45.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. For me, there's been some good moments, put it that way, over the years. But in my lifetime, there's been a couple. One's been stolen, but that is Harry Kane's goal when he took his mask off. That's the one that I remember most. Just an excellent goal as well. But for me, the two I'm stuck between is Harry Kane's goal. I think the 2-1 win a couple of years ago. I think his goal was really well taken. It was Son and Kane on the counter. And the other one for me is the 2-0 win at the Emirates in the Carabao Cup, where Dele got that little goal, that little chip, and that little celebration from the Arsenal fans, which caused a few problems, it's fair to say. So for me, if I had to choose between the two, it'd probably be just about Harry Kane's goal because of the manner he took it, the fact we won the game as well, and just that was the prime. In that system that we didn't enjoy, that's when we were at our best and we looked really good. So that's what I'm going to go for.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, it's got to be the 3-0 last season, just because there was just so many. No, season before, sorry. There were just so many elements to it. Like the atmosphere was absolutely incredible. I can't remember the last time a derby atmosphere was like that. It was pretty insane, all the way from the build-up all the way through to the end of the game. Just the way that we sort of played, the sort of traps that Arsenal fell into, Chambers getting sent off for sort of trying to take on Son, being overly aggressive, all the whining from Arteta. It was a lot of little moments that added up to a very, very sort of nice moment. So we don't have many of them against Arsenal, to be fair. So that was a very, very good one.
That game was probably, like, of all the games we played over the last 5 or 6 years, that was probably the one where he made the biggest statement to us, was because that we thought we were getting back to where we were, and that was you saying putting your hand on top of our head and going, "Pipe down, young lad.
Yeah,
you're not good enough yet.
Yeah,
we can still kick your arse if we fucking want to," and you did. It was very much men versus boys that day, where it says we needed a win, and so did ye, and ye decided that ye wanted it more, and that was the end of it. There was no fighting around. He bullied us. He made us play really simple, really bad mistakes, and capitalized, and just said, no, we're still really good. You're going to have to play a lot better than that to beat us. And to be fair to us, we learned all of those lessons and came back 6 months later and did exactly to ye what ye did to us in the first half.
Yeah.
It was. The crowd beat you the 3-0 day. I think Arsenal were beat before they kicked the ball.
Yes, I 100% agree. It was one of those occasions where it just, like I said, it was one of those times where the few times it's happened, but it has where Tottenham just felt the bigger club, where they were like, "Look, ye are not as good as us yet. We're the Champions League club. We're the club that are title aspirations. You were 8th last year, young lad. You're still a young Padawan. You can still learn. We can still beat you by a lot if we want to." And then proved it. And then it was like I said, the fact that we went then the following November and were all over you in the first half.
We were in a terrible place at that point.
Agreed. But that was the first sign to us that was like, oh, our team's growing up. Our team's actually learned some lessons here, because the same team got bullied 6 months ago and come here.
It was like that. It was that moment where like the clubs were going like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, caller, I promised Dave that I would throw his favorite into the mix. It was right after Arsenal moved to North London in 1913, and Spurs won 2-1. So he wanted me to make sure I included that. It was his favorite memory of the game. So just want.
I like that. That's good. I like
that.
Yeah. Harry, I understand you've got to get off shortly. So I thought I'd allow you to say goodbye and tell us about your channel.
Yeah, thank you very much, firstly, for having me on. Before I go, do you want my score prediction for the North London derby?
Go on.
Please. Yes, please.
I'm going to go with 1-1, and I'll take a point. I'm feeling confident, to be fair, the most confident I've felt in recent years. I think it'll be tough, and obviously we're early into the project still under Ange, so I'll take a point. Thank you very much for having me on. I think my second or third appearance on the Cheese Room. First time with you, Calla. So yeah, it's great to be on. If you want to follow me, you can there, Harry Scarfe 22. If you want to check out my channel or podcast, Scarfe Spurs Talk at the moment, match previews, match reactions, weekly live shows every Monday, 8 p.m. So yeah, it's going really well at the moment. The support's been amazing. If anyone wants to come on as well, just get in touch with me, and we can get it arranged by the end of the year. So yeah, it's great because otherwise it used to be along with Holly Abrambar's show on a Monday night, as then mine. It used to be a therapy show every Monday last season. So last week it's nice to not be doing a therapy show, but yeah, it's great. So thank you very much for having me on again. Don't forget to subscribe to the Cheese Room. Follow all these guys as well. But yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
Pleasure, Harry, and enjoy the game. Enjoy the game Sunday, and good luck with your channel. I'm sure I'll be on there at some point. So enjoy. All right.
Thank you very much. All the best, guys.
Appreciate it.
You look
See you later.
So let's talk lineups then. In fact, let's talk form first. Let's talk form. I don't think you look as fluid, Stephen, as you did last year, and I am putting this down to the fact that you monkeyed £75 million on Kai Havertz, who couldn't hit a barn door, and looks like to me he was poor at Chelsea, and he's continued that at Arsenal, and I think you're trying to accommodate him in your squad side. I don't know why, to be honest. But give me some insight.
We're trying to run an antivirus on his head, is the best way I can put it. We're trying to get the last 3 years of Chelsea out of him, because he was one of, if not one of the best young players in the world at Leverkusen, playing as that CM/Cam on the left. He was devastating. He was scoring a goal every other game, creating an assist every other game at 19. And Chelsea only bought him because Bayer Leverkusen just said at the end of the window, look, if someone wants to give us 80 million for him, we'll sell him. We don't want to sell him, but we would. And Chelsea went, okay, and gave him the money. And they're like, well, now what are we going to do with him? And had no plan for him. Like, he's one of those players like a De Bruyne, like an Odegaard, like a Maddison, where you ask, where is his position? He's like, well, he doesn't really have one. You kind of just put him in the team and you build around him and then you go from there. So you have to get that out of him at Chelsea, where he was asked to play as a number 9 with 2 quick runners beside him. Like, he's good at holding up the ball and good at winning aerials, but he's not Lukaku. He's not anything like that. You need to play him in space, and Chelsea wouldn't. Even though he scored the winner in the European Cup final. You know, like in year one, you're like, okay, him and Mount might work together. And then 2 years later, they're both sold.
I mean, he's been shit so far, though, hasn't he?
Yes. And he's been shit so far. He's been all right.
Do you think he's the reason you've sort of stuttered a little bit? Because it's not free-flowing at the moment, is it?
No, but that's because we played Nketiah as a 9 instead of Jesus. I mean, he's kind of key to the whole thing too. Like, there's so many moving parts. And trying to, just plug in Nketiah for Jesus doesn't. Nketiah's a good number 9. He's a good fox in the box. He's a good striker. He's a good backup striker for any Premier League team. But he plays down the middle, head down, wants to make the forward runs. Whereas Jesus is really good on the ball. Like, he's exceptional on the ball. And he can take a defender out of the place so that a Xhaka, a Gundogan, a Havertz can play centre mid and run in the back post and go in that way. So that's why Havertz will work better with Jesus, because Jesus won't be making those runs that Havertz needs to make. Then there's Zinchenko is just coming back from injury. He's crucial to everything. And then,
I never thought I'd hear Zinchenko as crucial in any, because he's Mr. Average, isn't he?
No, he's Mr. 7 out of 10. But if you're good at 7 out of 10, okay, it's better.
He's the Arsenal equivalent of Ben Davis.
No, hang on for a minute. Zinchenko was the best passer of the ball statistically last year. Like literally. Like, Ben Davis couldn't pass water at an empty field. Like Zinchenko is a centre midfielder playing left back. Like that's what he's always was. He plays almost as a cam for Ukraine. And that's where we play him. And it means we can go into that 2-3-5, 3-1-6, box midfield, whatever you want to call it. But we can't do that with him. That's why Timber is such a big loss to us. Because he can do it from the right hand side.
Good player.
He's a fantastic player. And we suddenly realized, oh shit. So we can play him when Zinchenko's not fit, and then play a centre back at left back and do what City do. When Kyle Walker strolls up the pitch, they just play Nathan Ake or Akanji at left back, and they have 3 centre backs again. Like,
Arteta's just trying to be Man City.
Oh, he's definitely aping Pep, but I think we covered this before, Stephen. So, well, there's worse people to ape, isn't there?
Yes, and no, I won't say that like I won't say that Arteta's copying everything Pep does, but I would argue that Arteta definitely added a couple of things to Pep's playbook, so to speak, when he was there. And now he's got the players to implement it. All of a sudden, they're both doing the same thing at the same time. Like, it can't be a coincidence that as soon as we buy David Raya, he's playing right centre-back in the same way Ederson's playing centre-back for Man City when they lift them up. You know, like that, like, you can't copy things like that and just plug and play. I mean, that's what Ten Hag tried to do against us, where he's like, well, they play 3-4-3. We're going to play 3-4-3 with Aaron Wan-Bissaka as an inverted fullback. And
he's incapable of doing that, bro.
You can't do it, you know. So that's why it's been so fascinating to see how well Tottenham have taken to Postecoglou's tactics, because at Celtic he had the most inverted fullbacks in inverted fullbacks history. They played centre mid, and you'd spent 200 million on wide fullbacks to play wingers.
Yeah,
and now they're doing the exact opposite of what they were bought to do, and they're doing it really well.
Well, I mean, do you obviously, if you look at that back five, if you like, with the keeper, you know, only Romero really was there, wasn't he? So
yeah.
You know, when you look at it, is there? What do you think of those players? I mean, Destiny has been a revelation.
Yeah, he was good. He was good at Udinese last year.
Van der Ven has been.
Van der Ven was.
Vicario has surprised a lot of people, because everyone was like, "Why didn't we sign Raya?" You know, he was the cheap option, all the rest of it. But it appears it was a data-driven, derived decision, and it appears right now.
Yeah, again, you're playing to a plan all of a sudden, isn't it nice?
Really,
it's instead of just buying the friend of an agent, where it's like, you know, oh yeah, we'll get in this lad for 40 million. Oh, who do you used to play for? Antonio Conte. Oh yeah, he'll do. Like, you were 3 months away from bringing back Ashley Young.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I wish I was joking. But now it just seems that we've got a plan in place, but more importantly, it's a plan in place that the players actually think might work. Where it's like, we're not just going to sit back. We're not going to dig the Maginot line on our penalty box and hope and pray that you don't attack us. We're going to attack you. We're on the front foot. We're going to try and attack. And it's amazing how much more a player will buy in if he's given forward license. Yeah. If you know what I mean. If you've given him something to do progressively, where it's like, you can help us win, they'll buy in more to that, as opposed to constantly putting in their heads that we can't concede, we have to drop back, you can't let this lad get by you, can't let that lad by you, can't let that lad pass the ball. Now it's all of, if you don't run and get into space, I'm going to fucking throttle you. And that's possible. It's straight talking. You say, run into space. If he does run into space, big thick Aussie accent comes out, run into fucking space. And if he doesn't, he's off. And it's as simple as that. And there's no favoritism. There's no nothing. And the players have bought into it. And you see yourselves the result for it. You know, you've got a team. Like, the difference between United was striking, where ye are running your arses off, left and right, trying to cover space, trying to make sure that a press works, trying to make sure that the next lad doesn't have work to do, trying to make sure that the system works so that the next lad has the ball. All the little things that you need for a team to work are all the things that you're doing right now that United won't. You know, there's so many instances of their team just jogging left and right. And that's the difference. Ye weren't doing that under Mourinho. You definitely didn't do it under Santo. And ye tried to do it under Conte just out of almost, well, we'll give it a go. Almost out of, well, you know, he's the third lad in. We'll try this time because at least he won something. And
what do you think to this, by the way? That our back five is better than the Goons?
No. William Saliba might be the best centre back in the world right now.
No, he's not.
He's up there.
So is Romero on that basis?
No, he is legitimate. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't think I'd sell him for any centre back in the world.
You're making me want to eat numbers right now.
I don't know, but I'm taking.
I need to comfort eat because you know
I'm taking into account age for a start. You know, like I said, is Van Dijk better than Saliba? Yes, but Van Dijk is 31 and off 2 knee surgeries. William Saliba is 23. You know, like I said, like if he's playing this well at 23, how good is he going to be at 28?
Well, he might have 2 ACLs by then.
Well, hopefully not.
Hopefully so.
But like, you know, Gabriel's been a good partner. Ben White should be in England team.
He's rubbish. Stephen, I'm going to pause you there. I'm going to bring Stuart in. Stuart, is our back five better than Arsenal? And then Jack, same question to you. While I go and get my poppadoms, which Stephen has forced me to eat.
This is the problem with modern fans, is that it's always this or that.
Yeah.
And it's never that simple. You know, you could probably take elements of Arsenal's defence and elements of Tottenham's defence and do a combo defence that's actually, really, really quality. You know, Arsenal had a defence that almost won the league last year. You can't sort of argue against that. That's fact.
Took out Saliba and fell apart. Frankly, that's what happened.
So yeah, there's you could argue that there's elements. I mean, for me, I think Gabriel's got a mistake in him. He does seem to have a mistake in him still. There's been a couple of times where he has sort of done. He's been a little bit shaky this season. I think Saliba is very much the Mourinho of Arsenal, where you know you take Romero or Saliba out of each of those defences, and the quality of those defences plummets quite quickly.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go either or because I don't think it's that simple. But what I will say is that almost on paper they are very, very similar in terms of the qualities that each defender has in that back line. So like a lot of it, I think this is going to be one of the. On paper, it has the potential to be an absolute classic on Sunday.
Yeah, like I said, it is. Like I said, it's credit to Postecoglou that again because you play forward to back now, but you don't really have fullbacks. You've wing backs playing fullbacks. They're two completely different things. And in Postecoglou's system, it's a different thing entirely again. Like they are very square pegs in very round holes, but it's working. You know, like I said, it's just shown how badly mismanaged they were under the previous managers, where they are clearly very talented players, just played in the wrong style, played in the wrong system, played in the wrong thing. And again, you'll get players like like I said, like Gabriel Jesus, who can't get into the City team because they wanted number 9 who runs through the middle, and he keeps drifting off to the right.
Is
he brilliant for us?
Crap.
Yes. Sorry?
He's also pretty crap, isn't he? I mean, he can't even get in front of Richarlison, the Brazil team, and everyone at Tottenham thinks Richarlison's shit. So
now I will join that choir. Richarlison, I just don't know what he's good at.
Well, hold on. Let's not go into.
We'll find out Sunday.
We're still in the back. We're still in the back. So I mean, this topic of the best 5 between the two. I mean, my problem with this is that I try to be as objective as possible, and we're trying to judge 4 of our back 5 have got 4. I mean, got 5 games in the Premier League, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, so they've looked better in the system because Arsenal hasn't played that well, I think, to their abilities, and certainly not to what they did last year. To say Udogie is a better left back than Zinchenko, I'm willing to go out on that limb, but it is 5 games. Porro better than Ben White. Those two players couldn't be more dissimilar. It's not a fair comparison.
Yeah, completely agree.
But I will say that, as much as you wouldn't sell Saliba for anyone in the world, we wouldn't sell Romero for anyone in the world, particularly if he's going to play with his head intact and not get thrown out of games and not have rash tackles. Because one of the things I saw as a difference between last season is playing on the right hand side of a back 3 where his foul map was all over the field. He was just completely out of control. He was thrown into challenges, and now given a much more defined role, which is play high, sweep up, right? He's not in that situation where he's had to make wild tackles trying to put fires out all the time. So when you have the ball all the time, your defenders look a lot better. So it's a little early just for me to say whose back 5 is better. I would say, go ahead.
Just to say, like, partnerships are everything in back 4s and back 5s, and what Rodrigo needed was someone like the Nemanja Vidic had Rio Ferdinand doing all his sweeping up. What Romero needed was the ability to go forward, run for the ball, knowing full well that he's a young lad behind him covering the space. He didn't have that last year. Now he does, because Van de Ven is lightning.
Well, look, I mean, HG has had his say. In the chat, Vicario's as I'm reading this, HG, correct me if I'm wrong. You can join the show if you have time. Vicario is better than Raya. Saliba is same level as Romero. Van de Ven is better than Gabriel. White is better than Porro. Udogie is better than Zinchenko. I'd probably go along with that. I think that's probably quite fair.
The only one I have trouble with is Van de Ven versus Gabriel, because we're still comparing 5 games. And Gabriel, I don't say Gabriel's a world beater, but that could end up being right. What I love about the cheese rooms and everything is, while we've been discussing the North London derby, there's been a raging debate about Lamela. Someone hasn't played for the club for 30 years. I mean, I just love that.
He continues to divide years after his departure. Which
Lamela was the best shithouser of North London derbies. We're still trying to find a better one.
See, the only issue I have with this HG is Vicario better than Rare. I think Rare is a quality keeper, and I think he's as good as Vicario. Saliba, same as Romero. I'd go along with that. I think they're very high quality defenders. They've both got points where they're better than the other, but I think they're very similar in terms of level. Van de Ven, I think he will be better than Gabriel. I think what we've seen so far is very, very promising, and you're right, he's lightning quick. White, better than Porro. I'm not even sure about that, if I'm being really honest. I mean, the difference is White can defend, but Porro's much better going forward.
Yeah.
And then Udogie, I think Udogie is going to be a world-class player. I genuinely do. I love what I see from him. And I've never really rated Zinchenko, so there you go.
He's going to get tested this weekend, though.
Yeah, I think so. And look, we should move on, and we should talk a little bit about that, because we are getting waylaid. So, Jack, tell me, what does your 11 look like? And then Stuart, you can agree or disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Asking what I would do, or what I think the manager is going to do.
What you think it will be, and then Stephen, the same question.
I expect an unchanged side from basically last game out. I expect we see the Sheffield United 11. I don't think there's going to be a change, because unless Ange's been playing, it's got reverse psychology, or been talking, out of his arse. I mean, he's going to attack. He's not going to compromise. He's going to go at Arsenal. We're going to play the same style, and Arsenal's going to counter with the exact same thing. I mean, the tactical similarities of these two squads is incredible. And it's going to be one of those things where whoever is clinical, I think,
Jack, can you show the heat maps? Show the heat.
Yeah, sure, I will do that. So let me get there. This is your average position in the Everton game. And if you look at this, and you just kind of see where, so you've got your striker and you got Odegaard, who are very high the pitch, and then of course you've got your wingers high and wide, and you see how the setup. And then you look at us versus Sheffield United, and again, you've got your Maddison and Son very high partnered. You got Decky out wide. You got the fullbacks inverted. I mean, it's basically the same system.
Your classic 2-4-4.
Yeah, it's absolutely going to be the exact same thing. So for me, I expect to see the exact same lineup. I don't see Richarlison starting. I don't see Brennan Johnson coming in this big a game. I think we'll have Decky on the right. We'll have, the only question I have is whether Solomon starts, I guess. I have heard there's been a lot of chat about Porro coming to the bench and playing Emerson. I'm not a fan of that idea, and I would also not expect Ange to do that. I think he loves Porro and Udogie playing together, and he's going to want to attack Zinchenko, who's the weak link in that defense for me. So I expect the exact same lineup, and that's what I expect. That's what I'm hoping for, actually. And I wish I could be a neutral, because I think it's going to be a blast to watch if I weren't so emotionally invested.
And I brought in our expert analyst, HG. Welcome to the show. Stephen,
we've got the two callers on one side and the two HGs on the other.
Someone's got a screenshot this. HG, quantify your statement, in terms of the back five, by all means, but tell me what you think the lineup's going to be for the North London derby. And then I'm going to, by the way, Jack, I think you're wrong. So I'm going to come back to yours, definitely. HG.
Excellent.
What do I think it's going to be? I think Spurs will just keep it as it was. Don't see any changes.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I think Ange will do. Like, had Perisic been fit, I'd have been tempted to start him, but he's not. So I think it will stay the same.
Okay.
I have a feeling that he might start Johnson on the left instead of Solomon. That's my only change that I would see happening.
Okay. I would be gobsmacked if Richarlison doesn't start.
Ooh.
I think Solomon will drop out. I think Son will float to the left, and I think Richarlison will be up top for a couple of reasons. He offers a lot more press and harrying and shithousery than Son does through the centre. I think he's picked up a bit of form in the last. His confidence will be up after scoring that goal and assisting it against Sheffield United. If he hadn't scored, different story. And that's the change I think we'll see. I think the rest of the team will be exactly the same. But I can't see Richarlison missing out. I really can't.
The thing is, we've obviously watched every single Spurs game, and we've recognised that when we play against a team that sits deep, we need Richarlison. We don't need Son. Arsenal aren't going to do that.
Yeah.
So what's the point of playing Richarlison? So he can get sent off, because he's very much a red card for waiting to happen in a big game like this, where he's going to want to prove himself. It's just not a smart thing to do. Like, Arsenal want to press high. That's what they do. We will want to press high, but actually we're probably going to have more joy if we don't. If we allow them to come a bit further on, because then we can use Son behind. That's what we did against Burnley. Like, we're going to want to pull if we have it, but we don't necessarily need to press as high as Arsenal do. So to me, as good as Richarlison is in certain situations, I don't think Arsenal away is the time we're really going to need him. He's just going to be, he's going against Gabriel and Saliba, and he'll lose because they are just as strong as he is, right? And Gabriel will flop better than he can. I mean, it's just, it's in the nature. And I mean that nicely. That's what they do, right? I mean, Richarlison likes to buy a foul, so does Gabriel. Like, Saliba is the defender. Gabriel is the left-footed guy who works best with him. But if it was Gabriel +1, we'd be feeling a lot more comfortable, right? But we know Saliba is good. I think it's clear that Saliba is very good. There's no like Spurs versus Arsenal bias here. He's clearly a very good defender. Yeah. But if Spurs aren't going to be playing the game that we played against Sheffield United, it's going to be like the game we played against Burnley. And Arsenal are much better than Burnley, but they will play the same way. And Son scored a hat-trick in that game. I just think it's like, I understand the point of maybe we want to bring someone on the left-hand side, but I just don't think Richarlison, bringing him in, is going to do much for Spurs.
Is this a point, Emerson or Porro? I mean, Emerson's got a reputation of being sounder defensively. Porro obviously is much better up the pitch. Do you think, HG, that it might be that he opts for a little bit more cover and Emerson is the man?
No, because we saw after the Brentford game, he switched to Porro and he stayed with Porro ever since. I know we've had home games, or away games against lesser teams, but I think that that Ange.
Ooh, what?
Oh my gosh!
There's a Freudian slip.
Yeah, I really wouldn't want Poch back. No, I just think that, like, I don't think Porro played particularly well against Sheffield United. I don't think he was on the ball anywhere near as much as he should have been. But again, like, we want to be on the ball. I think he's basically realised that if we're going to have the ball, you want to have your best ball players, and Porro is on the ball than Emerson. That's it. He's willing to take the risk of only having Udogie and, oh my gosh, I can't think straight, of only having Romero and Van der Ven behind him. He's okay with that. He seems to be really okay with that.
Yeah, I think if we're looking to transition really quickly, so you're getting a ball out the back from the keeper or Romero into Porro. Porro has the ability to play a ball right the way through their midfield into the attack very quickly, which we saw against Burnley. So I think that's what, I think Emerson Real does. He's got legs and he puts a lot of the grunt work in. But I think if, like you say in HG, if we need someone on the ball who can distribute it and actually do stuff with it, I think, you've got to put Porro in there.
Okay. Goons then, Stephen. So is this the sort of thing we can expect to see?
Well, Martinelli's out. Like, he
Is that
pulled
for
a
sure?
I'd say I'd be amazed if he started. Like, you pull a hamstring, it's 14 days usually. There's no need to risk him with Trossard in such good form. Yeah, he was banging him in for Belgium. He's got 2-2 games for Arsenal. Let him cook. Yes, Jesus will be back for Nketiah. He played 60 minutes against PSV. He's not hurt. He'll be fine. The interesting one will be Vieira or Havertz, because Havertz is the better defensive option. Like, if he do press us, what we were lacking last year is just a press relieving ball over the top to a big lad who can hold up the ball. And that's what Havertz is doing for us. He's winning 4 or 5 aerial duels a game. It's half the reason why we got rid of Xhaka, was because he was doing so well getting behind the ball. But what Gooner did so brilliantly for City was he could do that as well and win the ball in the centre of the park. Havertz is doing that well for Arsenal. The only thing he's not doing for Arsenal right now is scoring goals. And that's why there's so much criticism of him. But everything else he's been asked to do, he's actually doing all right. So I'd be surprised if it wasn't him instead of Vieira, just because you're going to push up so high. It's just, I can't see Postecoglou going against what he believes in. He did it for Australia. He did it for Celtic. He would have to go to Celtic away from home and get whipped and then be asked it. And he said, I'd rather play like this and try and win than hide and lose. He's just not in him. It's not naivety. It's just not in him. It's just, this is the way I play. I know this works. I'm going to stick with it. It's stubborn, but it's refreshing, frankly, where a lad is going, I would rather lose than compromise my beliefs. So that's why I think Havertz will start. And then the back four is the back four. And
Stephen, do you think he's going to start Raya, or do you think he'll revert to Ramsdale?
It's goalkeeper roulette at this stage. I think the fact that he started Raya on Wednesday as well would suggest that he's number one. And it's a little harsh on Ramsdale, but it's a weird one. The eye test says Ramsdale is playing all right. The stats and the advanced stats saying that Ramsdale has been bang average. So,
can I ask a question to the other Spurs fans? Do we want Ramsdale or Raya to start? Who would we pick? Wanting Arsenal to be as weak as possible, who would we pick?
I would actually go Raya.
See, really? I would go Ramsdale. To me, there's no question that he's worse than Raya.
I'd go Ramsdale. I don't think he's as good a keeper as Raya.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, because the only real weakness in Raya's game that you can detect is shots from distance, and that's not what we're trying to do. I mean, we lead the league in touches in the opponent's box. So, and Raya is far superior with his feet, and I think that's why he's there.
Yeah. And at high pointing, catching the ball as well. He was like top in the league for Brentford last year. It was a mad. His stats are all over the place. Like I said, and long shots. But everywhere else he's grand.
You faced a lot of shots at Brentford, so I mean, the opportunity to do better is there. So
the reason I would go Raya again is just more because he's never played in a North London derby before. So if
he's got to start one.
That'd be the interesting sort of wrench to potentially throw in there because you just never know how players react. It's the same for us. We've got so many players that have never played in a North London derby before. They're either going to boss it or they're going to crumble. There never seems to be an in between at the moment.
If it was away, I think he'd start Ramsdale just for that reason, just because Ramsdale is showing that he can handle a crowd. And maybe not that Raya can't, but it's just what you've got in Ramsdale right now, and you're kind of trying to bed Raya in slowly. And if this was away, it might be too quick for him. But as at home, much more favorable atmosphere, obviously. But it's just a case of familiar surroundings, help him bed in and go from there. But it's a weird one. Like I say, it's an opposition where most Arsenal fans would have said they had a problem, but I think that's maybe where Arteta is changing mindsets a bit, where it's like, no, this is the 1 or 2% we have to change to catch those bastards above us. We have to be perfect to beat.
Yeah.
So good, really good isn't good enough anymore. You have to be spectacular, or they're just going to steamroll us by 10 points again.
For your money, Stephen, do you think that Raya is a better keeper? Or?
Yes, but like I said, it's not that Ramsdale has made that one big clanger that makes you think, oh God. he hasn't done what Onana did against Bayern Munich and against Nottingham Forest, where he's letting 3 or 4 unbelievably shocking goals, where to make you think, oh, he's not good. There hasn't been that one performance that he's gone, oh, he's been bad. And there's been a couple of games, like we referenced earlier, the first half of last year's game at White Hart Lane, where we were all over you. No one ever brings up the fact that for the second half you were all over us, and if it wasn't for Ramsdale, that could have been 2-2 or 3-2.
Yeah.
So like he kept us in that game the second half. He was superb, and some of the saves he's made. We were 2-0 up against Liverpool. They get back to 2-2. He pulls off 2 world-class saves against Salah.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not like he's been bad. It's not like he has made a catastrophic error that has suggested that he needs to be dropped. It's just Arteta's just gone on and said, look, there's someone better. Well, he is good, but we can do better. And
do you think it causes disruption?
Only if Ramsdale wants it to.
Yeah.
I don't think he seems like the lad that will. I think he knows that the narrative is set, and that if he doesn't cause a fuss, that if the Onana experiment goes tits up in United, he might end up in the United jersey next year. There's not going to be, if we decide, because we hilariously only have Ryan on loan thanks to FFP. We only spent 3 million for him. We owed them another 27 million in sum. But if we wanted to sell Ramsdale, half the Premier League would be after us. Yeah. It would be Emi Martinez 2.0.
Yeah.
Where it'd be like, oh yeah, we're 30 million. Yes, please. Come here. We'll give you money for that. No bother at all. So
see, I think the thing with Ramsdale, and I don't watch every Arsenal game, so clearly, I know, crazy, isn't it? When I do watch you win, so I don't want to. That's basically it. Those last-minute goals you score is because I'm watching, convinced of it. So I think that, like, you talk about that Liverpool game. Yeah, we all remember it. We all loved it because we wanted you to drop points. But we also remember the Southampton game where he conceded the goal after 30 seconds or something stupid. Yeah. And
that's happened. That's happened 3 times in the last 9 games. Now, not all of them are his fault. I mean, the last one against Fulham was Bukayo Saka with an awful back pass. But can't criticize Starboy.
I wasn't that keen on Spurs signing Raya because I thought he was a decent keeper, but not one that was like excellent in many areas. Like if he's good with his feet, like I realize that's important in today's football, but I care about whether they stop shots more than whether they're good with their feet. Yeah. And I just think that Ramsdale is it can be up and down. He can save you shots, but he's likely or more likely to make a rick than Raya. I don't remember Raya making many ricks, but I don't remember him making many outstanding saves either. He was just a constantly good keeper. And so I just think, for Arsenal, I mean, who knows what they'll do, long term. But it feels as if I think Raya will start, and maybe I don't know who you've got in the rest of the fixtures before the internationals, but I could see Ramsdale starting a couple. I just think in this case, Raya will probably start against us.
The problem for Ramsdale is that he wants to usurp Pickford as England goalkeeper, and him being on the bench at Arsenal won't
help at all. Yeah.
Well, you never know because Maguire doesn't start for United and he's still getting picked to start for England.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, it might be the best thing for him.
It definitely won't help him. So I do think for Ramsdale, it's not going to be great. I think to have 2 keepers at that level at the club at the same time, I don't know many other clubs that have got that. Even the top clubs, Man City don't have that. Real Madrid don't have that.
But it was still a no-brainer deal for Arsenal. Sorry, Stuart, go on.
No, I was just going to say it's an interesting decision that Arteta's made to potentially create that kind of conundrum within the squad when you don't necessarily he didn't really need to, because like Stephen's saying, Ramsdale's not there dropping clangers every week. It wasn't an urgent requirement to upgrade Ramsdale, and I just wonder whether that might cause some kind of issues later. Well, that's what I'm hoping anyway.
Like I say, when you've got a manager looking for perfection, and like I said, brought up like Pep was, where you can have a fantastic number 9 and a fantastic midfield, and he goes, nope. You can have Ibrahimovic up front, and he goes, no thanks. I'd rather have David Villa, or I'd rather play Pedro up front. I'd rather play Fabregas at number 9 as a false 9 other than Ibrahimovic because he won't do what I tell him to do. Like if the manager doesn't like, if you're not doing what the manager wants you to do all the time, he will get rid. He's shown it before, and he's done it, and he'll do it again. And it's that ruthlessness that we need. We never had it under Wenger. Never. It's what led to the malaise of 5 or 6 years below ye, where we had so many lads on who were treating it like a holiday home.
6.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And that's what caused it. Too many people were in too many comfort zones. And for years Arsenal were criticised for creating an environment that was too comfortable for players, and now we're almost getting criticised for keeping them on their toes. It's a weird one. It's
no, you can't make fans happy. Yeah, you can't make fans happy. And I mean, I want to throw this out to the group just because we're on keepers. Vicario, you mentioned Raya not experienced in North London derbies, but he was undefeated in London derbies, I think, at one string. So he's been in big games. This is going to be quite a pressure cooker for Vicario. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he responds, because again, we've got a back 5 where, as I mentioned, 4 of them have only had 5 Premier League games, and so that it really is. If this game's going to get a hand, I would say it's going to be the wrong way for us potentially, and I'm be curious whether Vicario has the mental fortitude. If he comes through this, then I'm going to be ecstatic, because he's clearly got all the tools, he's got all the skill sets, he's got all the reaction saves, he's pretty good with his feet, he's energetic, he talks a lot, he's communicating with his defense, but this is going to be a whole nother world for him, I think, than what he's experienced so far.
Yeah, I think in answer to the question that Kerry's put there, what are your thoughts on him now? I mean, I'm massively impressed with where he's at the moment. I think there was a lot of Spurs fans who were very doubtful about the signing. I mean, I'd read a little bit about him over the summer, because when we'd been linked with him around the fact that he was the Serie A keeper of the season and all that kind of stuff, best shot stopper in the league and all those kind of things. But because he didn't have the big sort of name that we were being linked to, and there is those sort of question marks. He's not Premier League ready. That's potentially a big factor. But so far, touch wood, he's performing really, really well. And it's just, like I said before, when you're coming into a North London derby for the first time, the trend is generally you either perform out of your skin or you absolutely crumble. There doesn't seem to be a middle ground. So I'm hoping he performs out of his skin like he has done the last couple of games, because there's been probably one key moment in each of our games so far this season where he has performed an absolute spectacular save to keep a score at a certain level or anything like that, which we've then used to go on and get another goal or get the win or whatever. So yeah, he's impressed me so far.
I like Vicario. I think he's done well so far with everything he's had to deal with, and I think you're right. This is a massive test for him. Young keeper, loads of potential, cat-like reflexes. It'll be interesting to see how he copes, because we don't really know how Spurs are going to cope, because this is the first real test. I saw a question previously from Gov. Have Arsenal got anyone as press resistant as Bissouma? There we go. Who on Woolwich is press resistant is a good question, Stephen, because I don't think you'd have faced a press like us so far this year.
Well, Odegaard and Declan Rice.
Do you think Rice is a better player than Bissouma?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. He, even just in the last, it is incredible how better he lets us play, even in just the first 6-7 weeks, because he covers so much ground. It's Rodri for City. What he probably doesn't get as much credit for as he should is the amount of ground he covers, because it's just acres, and he can let everyone press on. When Van Dijk was at his ultimate peak, where they could send on, Trent could play almost right wing, and then Mo Salah could play centre forward, because he didn't have to worry about playing right back, because Van Dijk just covered all of that. Rice is able to do that in the middle. His recovery pace and just being able to just stay and be in the right place at the right time, and then not lose the ball on top of it, has been incredible. And it's like watching Jorginho, except with a yard of pace. So Now, again, do teams press like Tottenham? No. Like it's Liverpool, it's City, it's Ye that commit numbers. But that's how we trained. We press the same way. So it's going to be a case of not so much how much Ye adapt to us, but how much we look at Ye's set up that special. Like I said, it's weird how you spent 4 years playing 5-2-1-2 almost, and now you play 2-1-2-5. If you know what I mean, you start off with 2, and then Bissouma, and then the two fullbacks, and then you're 5. Like if you could knock the ball around our pressing 4 of Odegaard, Trossard, Saka, and Rice, and then if Havertz can get in there as well, if you can knock the ball around them, you're doing brilliantly. You might that's going to be the key to the game, because then Porro could just saunter off to wherever Zinchenko's gone. He can just make sure Zinchenko never gets into the center of the field at all, because he's got to worry about Porro's pace behind him. If you can knock the ball around to Odegaard and Rice, you've got more than half a chance. If you can't, you'll get thrashed.
But Stephen, isn't Rice the most defensive of your midfielders? Like, if Odegaard and Havertz or Vieira are the two that are behind Jesus, then you've got Zinchenko and Rice as your defensive two.
Yeah, and then Gabriel, Saliba, and then Ben White will come in. Mm-hmm. So we almost press 3-2-5.
Okay,
it's the way we try and do it is a bit like Jack might know, if you're an American football fan, it's almost like disguising a blitz, where we'll send 3 lads one time and then 4 lads the next, and you don't know which way it's going to come from. And if you can figure that out, it'll work. If not,
Arsenal were better this year than they should be better than they were last year, because Declan Rice is a better player than Thomas Partey. To me, that's the first thing, right? Yeah. Whether Havertz ends up being a better option than Xhaka, I think did better than most people thought last season, right?
Yeah.
So Havertz has the ability to do things that Xhaka couldn't. The question is, can he do what Xhaka could, right? But I just, like, if you're thinking about who's going to press Bissouma, then I'm looking at your 2 attacking midfielders more than anything. Like, maybe there are 3, but like, it's interesting that Spurs have played Pape Sarr a lot in the recent games. And to me, at least, because Pape Sarr is better at resisting the press than Porro is, that sometimes I almost imagine that Spurs might switch things a little bit, and that Bissouma and Pape Sarr become the 2 with a doggy that can receive those balls, and Porro ends up being kind of shunted more out to the right, where Sarr has sometimes been. Because I just feel that Sarr, to me at least, considering that Bentancur is not fit, if Bissouma's out, Sarr plays that role for us.
Yeah,
because he's the best with the ball at his feet. He doesn't really get flustered. He's quite happy to just play the ball first time off either foot. And so it would be interesting to see if Spurs don't say, okay, well, if we are getting pressed by 2 or 3, that we say, we're going to bring Pape Sarr back into that, kind of as the inverted fullback in effect on that side, because that would give us a better platform to hopefully play around. Because I don't trust Pedro Porro on the half turn. Right, I've seen it against the worst teams in the league, but I remember against Man United, he got caught a couple of times quite easily trying to do that. So that might be something that Spurs try to keep the same 11, but just maneuver things around that we can keep the ball through that Arsenal press. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I'm reading the chat, and obviously no one here respects West Ham, but they did win the Conference League last year.
Oh wow!
Hey, it's more than what we want, right? But it's a European. He was their best player by a street.
Yeah.
Like he is a legitimately one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. Did we overpay for him? Yes, of course we did. But that's because we needed a defensive midfielder, and the list available was one. And West Ham knew that. They said, we want 100 million. Fuck you.
I mean, there was an article, I think, in the Athletic, I think yesterday or today, that talked about the importance of having that defensive midfielder who's press resistant.
Yeah.
That the way that teams are playing now, you have to have someone who is not only good at passing the ball, but can actually understands how to get out of the press and how he can use other people to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be honest, Declan Rice never had to do that at West Ham, and I haven't seen Arsenal enough to see him. But it's an interesting one, because I feel like Declan Rice is good at stopping, and he understands where to go, and he's much better on the ground than Thomas Partey is. But is he as good on the half turn if he's got 1 or 2 people pressing? That would be interesting to see, because West Ham never really saw it.
I don't think he's as good as Bissouma at that.
No, not at that.
It'll be an interesting matchup. But let's get your score predictions. So, Stuart, I'm going to come to you first. Describe it to me. What's going to happen?
I think it's going to be a very intense battle of two very, very sort of similarly set up teams. I think I'm going to go with a 2-2. I will be happy with an away draw on this one.
I think at a ground where we've got a terrible record, 2-2 is a good shout. Stephen, go on then.
It's going to be goals. Like this could be 4-2, 5-2. It does depend. Like I said, if Spurs can hold off, if Spurs can get around that Arsenal press, they could win, because the amount of pace they have going down the left and right wing, when we push up, they press, they get the ball, and Zinchenko is in the middle of the field, and Pedro Porro has 60 yards of free space ahead of him. Like, can Spurs take advantage of those chances? And they will come. Can they counterattack just on the break like that and take advantage and get those few chances that they'll get? If they can do that, it could easily be 2-2. If they can't, and they can't get the ball out of Arsenal press, it could be 4-5-1. But I only say that because PSV did exactly the same thing on Wednesday night, and they're as good a side as Tottenham are. They're top of the Dutch league. Well, they're all right.
They're
not top of the Dutch league. 4 out of 4.
Farmers League, Stephen.
But they won 4 out of 4. Turned up, tried to play decent football, and got absolutely torn apart. Like, you cannot play open football against a team like if this was this Tottenham team going up to Manchester City and played like that, you'd expect Tottenham to get torn apart, just because you know Man City would find those little passes to break open that press. And you know that everyone at Man City is press resistant. We are the little poor man's, homeless man's dog of Manchester City. You know, we are the budget version. We are the easy jet Man City. And if we could do the same, we could exploit that. But, and it's a big but, no one knows with G right now. You're flying high, you're playing the way you want to play, and it's been years since you haven't just sat in a back seven in front of us and hoped to just soak up pressure and go on the counterattack. You're going to want to get the ball. And if after 10 or 15 minutes you still have the ball, we're going to get restless. We always do. You know, that crowd, as much as it can sing about, you know, the Angels of the North and all of that, if 15 minutes in, it's 1-0 TE and you're having more shots and you're playing your football and you're getting around our press, we will start to murmur. And it happens all the time. And it'll be interesting to see if you can do that. If what you've done for 6 weeks, the last 7 weeks, if that carries over. If it does, it'll be a cracking game. It'll be end to end, and it could be 3-2, 4-2, either way. But if you can't, it'll be one-way traffic.
So go on then, give me a prediction.
4-2 Arsenal.
Ooh.
But
I've got to put you back on the PSV comment. I mean, I've got
PSV are really good.
No,
PSV
they're
are
not.
really
No,
good.
they're not.
Just have a bit of
They're not.
context, right? PSV haven't actually played anywhere near the decent teams in the Dutch league yet. So
True.
Say they're top of the league after 4 games isn't
True.
really saying a
True,
lot.
but they're not. They're not. You know, cannon fodder.
Bullshit.
But they're not.
Well, no, they were cannon fodder. Let's be honest.
Yeah, because they
I
tried.
mean, literally against Arsenal, you would be cannon fodder if you lose to them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Hey, Stu, give us your prediction.
3-1 Arsenal. I'm sorry, I'm a Spurs fan, and we're going to Arsenal, and we're going to try and play a team that have played that way longer than we have. You would be a fool to think anything other. Yeah, we can beat them. Of course we can. But, you know, I'm sorry. Like Arsenal's team, certainly in the back line, will be more like it was last season. At the start of the year, when they had Timber and Tomiyasu, it was different, and they didn't look as good. But the back four that they're going to play is their back four. It's probably their best back four. Yes, Zinchenko may not be amazing defensively, and we would like to exploit it, but we're playing Arsenal at their own game in their own house. Sorry, like I'm usually wrong with predictions, but still, if I'm putting money on this, Arsenal should win. I mean, it's a free hit for us.
Yeah.
Like as everyone keeps on saying, we've got 5 games of this together as a unit. They've got 55 playing this way. So at Spurs, things would be different. But at Arsenal, given our record there, I'm sorry, if I'm putting money anywhere, Arsenal should win.
Jack,
I'm starting to see the resemblance now because he just.
Jack,
Yeah.
over to you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, any Spurs fan, as HG says, if you are predicting a Spurs victory, you're doing it purely on hope and that the ball bounces your way, and we're clinical and they aren't, because there are going to be chances. There's going to be high XG, I think, because both teams are going to be open, and anyone who wouldn't bite your hand off for a draw is crazy, as Stuart's predicting. I mean, I predicted on the Wednesday show 2-2. That was a gut reaction, so I'm gonna stick with the 2-2 like Stuart. But the idea that we're gonna go in there in a place that we rarely ever get a result and win or even draw is fanciful. But I'm of course hopeful. But I'll stick with the 2-2 from Wednesday night's call.
Yeah. I said on the podcast this week 2-2 Desmond, and I think that's what it'll be. I think there'll be chances galore. Could go either way. I think if Arsenal get on top, it could get ugly because of the inexperience we've got in our side. And I think HG talks a lot of sense. You know, we've been playing this way for a few games. Everyone's really happy, but we got out of jail against Sheffield United. With a bit of Perisic magic, I might add, and he ain't there. So I can see us having a field day. I mean, the one person we didn't talk about was Brennan Johnson, who I think can really exploit that high press. I think he's going to come on 60 minutes and have a field day, especially if Arsenal are pushing for a goal. But
Calder, if you think that, then why not start him? Like, if you think, because we all think that Brennan Johnson against Zinchenko is a win for us.
Yeah, it's a mismatch.
Right? So why not start him? Kulusevski may have scored the winner last week, but if you want to be really attacking, then you play Kulusevski where Sarr plays, and you play Sarr where Porro plays, and Porro misses out.
Yep.
That would be a really attacking formation. And I think we all see that Kulusevski is not a winger, not really.
He's built for that inside forward. Yeah, like Kulusevski's perfect for that inside forward where Salah plays for Liverpool, so to speak.
But we're going to
plays in the box and does his thing.
I think we're going to need Kulu's running.
We're going to need I was going to say we're going to need the ground he covers, and that's the reason why I expect Kulu to play, because no one covers more ground than he does for our squad. So
or in the Premier League,
Premier League, yeah.
But he does.
Oh no, I think he does. If you watch him off the ball,
it's weird. It's what I don't notice how much work he does in the games, but the stats obviously bear out that he does exactly that. It's just not something that I've particularly noticed. Whereas, like, you notice Udogie running up and down the whole game. Yeah. You don't see Kulusevski putting that amount of distance in.
There was a year where Ozil led Arsenal in distance covered.
Yeah. Ericsson was the same.
It doesn't sound like a ringing endorsement from Stephen there.
No, but it's just like you said, your eye's tricky. Ozil would go so far, but at walking pace. He's constantly looking for space, constantly looking for. He's never still, but he's never sprinting either. And it's just cumulative. It's like United, where it's like they're running, but they're not running for any purpose other than to make it look like they're running.
Yeah. Sounds a lot like me on the outside pitch on a Tuesday night. I'm sure I run a lot, not with purpose, but I run a lot. So we shall see. Cheeseheads, let us know your predictions in the chat. If you're watching this on Catch Up, please do leave us your prediction or a comment. Make sure you subscribe and like the show. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here for the last hour and 43 minutes, but we are going to park it there. Stephen, can I just say thanks for coming on once again?
No, anytime.
Dependent on the result, we'll invite you back on Monday.
But, if the baying mob holds off for another 6 months, I'll get back for the return leg. I know, but folks, again, as always, it's always nice to talk football with football people. As simple as that.
I meant to ask this earlier. Is it that you have to leave Britain to find a reasonable Arsenal fan? Is that the deal?
Yeah, pretty much.
Just checking.
I've got a few mates who are Gooners, but none of them make the cut. Definitely not.
Okay.
Stuart, lovely to see you as always.
Yeah, I'll be back next week and hopefully in less pain. So.
You just need to keep going. It's just a pain barrier. You push through it. You'll be fine on the other side.
As I said before, mate, I'm just hoping it's not emotional pain that I'm suffering on Monday.
That's right.
Physical's fine.
Yeah.
HG, no emotional suffering for you, hopefully.
I mean, it's weird. I went to work today for the first time in 3 weeks, and I walked in the class, and one of the kids was wearing an Arsenal top, and it's so I know on Monday morning.
Hundreds of slips since you left.
Yes, clearly.
Yeah.
I actually saw two. I saw an Arsenal training top from this year as well.
Yeah.
It's quite scandalous how the rats come out when the sun is shining. But yeah, it's always fun. Like it is much more fun when I'm not surrounded by people who really care.
Yeah.
I can just watch it and then get on with my life a little bit. But it's a massive game as always.
Yeah. And Jack, as ever, your contribution is massively welcome. Thanks for joining us all the way from across the pond.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here every single time you invite me on. So thanks so much.
No problem at all. Until next time, come on, Spurs, we can do this. North London derby. Bring out the ghost of Lamella. We can do this. Come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs.
You sound like an Arsenal fan caller.